Welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. Before we wade into today's tangle of feelings, remember to subscribe, tap like, and hit join so you never miss the stories that make the glamour crack and the truth shine through. What we're about to share blurs the line between romance and reality, and it all began when the spotlight was supposed to be squarely on a project, not a heart. It happened at what should have been an ordinary press junket. The venue was a sleek hotel ballroom in Istanbul, the kind with mirrored pillars and carpet so plush it swallows the sound of footsteps. Cameras chimed as they powered up, microphones hissed softly, and publicists drifted by with the gentle urgency of people who've done this 1,000 times. Gökberk Yildirim was there for a new release, perfectly styled yet a little rumpled at the edges from a long day. He took his seat, polite, careful, ready to give tidy answers about schedules, scripts, and co-stars. The mood hummed along, predictable and safe. Then a reporter said a single name. Cemre Arda. A hush fell like a curtain. You could feel the room lean forward. Gökberk blinked once, twice, as if a memory had stepped out of an elevator and stood in front of him. He glanced at the mics, at his water glass, at some faraway point that existed only in his mind. And in a voice softened by something even he didn't plan to show, he said, "I'm still in love with her." Just like that, time seemed to hold its breath. The sentence wasn't long, it wasn't embellished, it didn't arrive with a prepared statement or a media strategy. It arrived the way truths sometimes do, uninvited, unpolished, and impossible to take back. The clip spread in minutes. Feeds lit up. People replayed it again and again, zooming in on his eyes, his mouth, the quiver that might have been a swallow. A blended nickname for their two names climbed the trends across platforms, a wave rising so fast even seasoned watchers of celebrity currents were surprised by its pull. Speculation surged. Old interviews were dug up and rewatched with forensic attention. Photos from premieres and wrap parties reappeared, every glance between them treated like a puzzle piece that had been hiding in plain sight. Fans drew circles around small gestures and framed them as evidence, a lingering look at a festival, a shy smile shared in a makeup trailer, a hand brushing past the other in a way that felt like more than coincidence. Some argued it had all been there, waiting for someone to ask the one question that would break the dam. Others insisted nostalgia was playing tricks on everyone, painting the past in a more generous color than it ever wore in real life. Through it all, neither of them confirmed anything further. They didn't deny. They didn't fuel. They didn't pick up the phone to go on a talk show and explain. That silence had its own electricity. It made the uncertainty feel like a room in which we'd all been allowed to stand, quiet and attentive, sensing something we couldn't see but knew was present. Then came Cemre's reply, if we can call it that, because it wasn't words spoken into a microphone. It was a photo. Black and white. A shoreline stretching like a ribbon under a pale sky. The foam traced and erased the edges of two fading prints, as if someone had walked alone and the sea, in its steady patience, was closing the path behind them. Her caption was short and poetic, "Some truths arrive without footprints." It was delicate and almost whispered, the kind of line that invites interpretation and refuses to be pinned down. Within minutes, the internet exploded with essays under comments, threads mid-argument, and voice notes filling private chats late into the night. What did she mean? That not every truth must leave a mark? That some truths belong to the air between people rather than the ground beneath them? Friends close to Cemre said, quietly and without fanfare, that she'd responded with grace, that she had acknowledged the past without reopening old wounds, that she had protected her present while honoring what had once been. People admired how she somehow made a single image feel like a chapter. She didn't need to raise her voice to be heard, and yet the silence in that caption rang as loud as any speech. In boardrooms and writers' rooms, the wheels started spinning. The idea of reuniting them on screen, not as a nostalgic stunt but as a study in what love becomes when it matures, began to feel like a natural progression. Conversations drifted from gossip to storytelling. Could two people who shared that kind of unguarded honesty play characters who wrestle with second chances? Not as the bright, uncomplicated lovers of their early work, but as people tempered by experience, aware of cost and consequence. The thought itself was a siren song to producers who understand that audiences don't just watch, they feel, they compare, they project, and they hope. Fan imagination sprinted ahead. Message boards filled with dream casts and imagined plotlines. Some envisioned a slow-burn drama about forgiveness and time. Others wanted a modern script that let them wrestle with truth as much as desire, with scenes that felt stolen from an ordinary life rather than staged in a glass box. Memes joked about needing a defibrillator for certain reunion scenes. Beneath the humor, though, a more delicate thread of yearning wound between comments. People don't root for names, they root for the story in themselves, the one that says maybe we can return to something we were certain had ended, and find that it has changed in the exact way we have. After the whirlwind, Gökberk posted a statement that read like a deep breath. Sometimes truth arrives before plans do. I respect the roads that shaped me, and I wish good fortune to everyone who has walked beside me. It wasn't an apology, not really. It wasn't a denial. It was a door left ajar, a way of saying that the confession wasn't a tactic or a trick, but a moment of honesty that surprised even the one who spoke it. It asked for no permission, demanded no immediate reaction, and gave no roadmap beyond respect. That was enough for the internet's creative forces to take over. Timelines appeared, not just of their work but of their proximity, airport candids, behind-the-scenes clips, the way they seemed relaxed when the cameras weren't supposed to be rolling. Fans stitched together montages that charted the evolution from playful banter into a quieter, steadier language understood only by people who have built something between them, whether it lasted or not. Editors slowed down frames, shaded transitions, and layered music over glances usually ignored. You could scroll for an hour and still feel you were only skimming the surface. Through all that noise, what emerges is simple. Fame packages feeling, but it can't replace it. Designer suits can be a kind of armor, but they do not change what beats beneath. Rehearsed smiles can glide through a red carpet, but they don't make a heartbeat choose differently. One confession peeled back a layer and reminded everyone that the world of lights and marks and cues is still populated by human beings who flinch, who remember, who wonder what if. There's an ache that comes when memories resurface. It doesn't always mean a return. It can be a bell rung in an old chapel, echoing down a hallway you don't intend to walk again. And yet, sometimes that bell isn't just sound, it's a call. For some, Gökberk's words have already opened a door. They talk about second chances as if they are trains that stop only once. For others, the confession feels like a farewell letter to a feeling that deserved to be named before being put down, a way to say I see you to a chapter tucked neatly on a shelf. People are split, and their reasons are as varied as their histories. Some praise his courage, saying he risked ridicule to speak plainly in a room designed to avoid vulnerability. They see in him a man who chose sincerity over strategy. Others warn that naming a flame doesn't keep it from burning out, and that the kindness in love sometimes means letting a memory remain a memory. They worry about the pressure such a moment places on two people who are already the subject of constant watchfulness. Meanwhile, the industry keeps imagining. In one proposed series idea, two characters who failed at love meet again as carefully changed people, burdened by what they've learned but grateful for it too. In another, they navigate a quiet city, where longing is less a shout and more a steady hum beneath daily life. The pitches keep evolving because audiences are telling the makers what they want without saying it directly. They want stories that admit to the complexity Gökberk's sentence revealed. They want what Cemre's caption suggested, that some truths don't announce themselves with flags and drums, but arrive like weather, touching everything while leaving no single mark you can point at and say, here is where it began. What will they do with this moment? If you pay attention to their patterns, you see two professionals who value the work first. They are careful about turning private life into public currency. That makes the confession feel less like a tease and more like a slip of the soul, something that escaped and then stood there unashamed. If they choose to work together again, it will likely be because a script earns the risk, because the roles promise something more than easy nostalgia. If they don't, the sentence will still live on like a note in a bottle, drifting along the timeline of their careers and bobbing up whenever someone needs reminding that truth exists in the spaces between the rehearsed moments. And what of Cemre's shoreline? It lingers. People return to it the way you reread a last page to understand the whole book better. Her caption gives permission to interpret while keeping a boundary. Maybe that's the most gracious response to any confession made in the bright heat of publicity, the acknowledgement that two people can own a truth without handing it over for public consumption. As the dust settles, the lasting image is not the microphone or the viral clip, not even the trending nickname that dominated feeds. It's the quiet. The kind that lives in a room after someone has said something you can't forget. It's the knowledge that a heart can find its way into a sentence before the owner knows what to do with it. It's the shoreline slowly smoothing itself out after waves come and go, leaving behind the faint suggestion of a path and the mystery of where it led. Tell us what you think. Did Gökberk's words open a door to a second chance, or were they the sound of a memory speaking out loud one final time? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your takes, your hopes, your cautions, they all matter to this ongoing conversation. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap join so you can keep up with the most heartfelt stories from the world you follow. Even under the brightest stage lights, some truths don't shout. They float, they flicker, they slip between the seams of performance, and they endure. Long after the cameras cool and the press badges are put away, the sentence lingers, the photo lingers, and so do we, listening for the next small sound that will tell us what came after.